Hey, it's Robin at Fresh Faced Ginger, and today I'm talking about makeup in your 40s and beyond. You may have noticed when you get to your 40s that you can't use the same products you used when you were younger. They're just not working for you anymore. And that is because your skin has gone through a lot of changes as you've gotten older, and some of that can be hormonal changes, which can definitely affect your skin. So it may be time to change things up, not only with the products that you're using, but the way you're applying them. So let's get to that. As always, I'm going to tell you to begin with good skincare. This is a must if you want your makeup to go on smooth, if you want it to last throughout the day, and if you want your skin to stay in good health. In the video before this one, I talked about my daytime skincare routine. It's really simple, and it's actually what I have used today. I've already done my skincare, so now I'm going to get to the makeup. So in my teens and early 20s, I was using a powder foundation. It worked just fine for me when I was younger, and then in my 30s, I switched to a liquid foundation. Now I am using a cream foundation because as I've gotten older, my skin has gotten more dry. It's gotten a little more textured. Sometimes I have problems with dehydration, and I just feel like a cream makeup lays better on my skin, and it's also much healthier for my skin overall. And I will link everything used below so you can take a look and see if it's right for you. So I just kind of warm up my foundation on my fingertips a little bit before I put it on my skin. And then I try to start in the areas where I need the most coverage. I have a lot of redness, mostly in the center of my face, right on my cheeks, my nose. And so those are pretty much the areas where I want the most coverage. And you can apply your foundation with makeup brushes, with makeup sponges, or you can use your hands like I'm doing right now. It's just important to make sure whatever you're working with is clean before you get started. So I always make sure my hands are clean, and then I always do my skincare right after that. So I'm working with clean surfaces on both. One of the biggest mistakes I made with makeup when I was younger is I would just apply my foundation all over my face, and I was applying it way too heavy, and I really didn't need that much coverage everywhere. So now something I've learned is I'm wanting to apply it, I want to get the most coverage in the areas where I need color correction, like I said, that redness, and then I want to kind of blend it outward, and I want to keep everything else pretty light-handed. You don't necessarily need to have heavy coverage on the entire face. So on your face, it may be something like this, where you need more of the coverage in the center of the face like I do, or there may be other areas that you need. And just make sure you're blending as you go so you don't have these heavy spots or there's just a bunch of foundation chucked up. This particular foundation, it really does feel nice, like skincare. It doesn't feel like I'm using, even though this gets like a medium to heavy coverage, it doesn't feel like a heavy coverage foundation. And that's what I love the most about this is even when I want coverage, I don't want a makeup that feels super heavy. So this type of foundation is something that I have liked the most. And then, like I said, everywhere else is just kind of lighter touches of foundation. I'll get to the under eyes once I get to my eye makeup. But this is pretty much it. It's pretty basic. So this is pretty good for me on the coverage. I really didn't use a whole lot of foundation. Again, just concentrating where I need it most. But now you'll notice my complexion, even though it's evened out and I've gotten rid of the inflammatory redness, it looks kind of washed out. I look kind of pasty, so I don't want to leave it like this because I do want some color in my face. I want to kind of bring my face to life, and so this is where adding things like bronzer or contour or even a little blush can help with things like that. So one of the things I like to focus on is contour. I'm not doing anything crazy. I just want to do something really simple and subtle. I do like to contour a little bit under the cheekbones, just to kind of give them a little bit of a lift. And you don't want to go super heavy with the color because you don't want it to be like there's stripes on your face or anything like that. See, I got that a little bit heavy on that side. You want to blend it in such a way where it just looks like a shadow. So I just want to go right under my jawline. I don't want it up on the face. Just trying to create a bit of a shadow under there. And then if you have a larger forehead like I do, you may want to do a little bit up there too. So just, again, a little bit, not trying to create big heavy lines or streaks on the face. And I do want to create another video where I talk about eye makeup in depth because I feel like that's one of the areas that 40+ women struggle with the most. And I am going to do that, but today I'm just going to keep it simple, really simple on the eyes. I'm just putting a little bit of concealer on my eyelids to begin with. Then I'll also set it with a little bit of powder, and this is just to create a good foundation for eyeshadow so it won't streak or move. Typically I'll just use 2 colors of eyeshadow I'll use one that's a bit lighter and put it all over the eyelid. And just make sure it's really well spread out and blended. And really, if you wanted to keep it super simple, you could just stop right there. You could just do the one color and leave it at that. Then I'll take a darker color and go on the outer third of the eyelid, just to get some depth right there. And I try to take it above the natural crease of my eye, so it doesn't get stuck in the crease, and it gives me a little bit of lift on the eyes. And then I'm going to fill in my eyebrows a bit. As many people my age, I over-tweezed them in the early 2000s, and they're kind of disappearing now, so I want to give them a little color and make whatever hair I do have left there stand out. Just using a small angled brush and creating some hair-like strokes where maybe I don't have as much hair anymore. And just keep going throughout the brows. And if you don't need to do this, then maybe just give your eyebrows a good brush. Or if you have enough hair but your eyebrows are lighter and they're kind of disappearing, maybe consider using some hair color just so you can give your brows a little more definition, because the brows kind of frame the eyes, and I think that's an important part of makeup, especially as you get older. Then I like to use some Gotta Be Ultra glued gel on my eyebrows because I get some rogue hairs that are like wiry and want to go all over the place, so it just kind of keeps them where I want them to be. Now, I haven't done under eyes yet. I kind of did a short on this where I apply some of my foundation under the eye, and then I try to give it a few minutes to settle into those fine lines before I really do anything with it. Then once you see it start creasing, that's where you take a little brush like this, make sure it's clean, and wipe the product right out of the part where it's creasing. Then I will take a setting powder on a fluffy brush like this, and I try to dust off as much of it as I can because you don't want a whole lot of product. You just want a very thin amount, and then put it right on that area under the eyes to set it. And it's enough to make it stay in place without making the makeup under your eyes look super heavy and caked on. And this is the only area of my face where I feel like it's necessary to really use a setting powder, but you could use this technique anywhere on the face. I would just say anywhere that you use a setting powder, as you get older, use less. You don't need a bunch of powder caked on your face. You don't need to do the baking stuff with the heavy powder under the eyes. It's just not necessary. It is the kind of thing where less is more. Then for me, my neck and the décolleté area are lighter than my face, so I do like to add a bit of a bronzer just to give me a little color there, and so I don't look so washed out, and I'll blend it down to the neckline of my shirt. And I don't want to use so much that I end up looking orange, but I just want enough color to where it kind of evens that out and it doesn't look like there's such a distinct difference of color between here and here. So I like to place my blush a little bit higher just to give me some lift, and then you can blend it in with your fingers or brush. And I know some may be asking, what's the point of putting blush on when you just covered up your redness? Well, all of my redness is at the center of my face, and I don't want the focus to be on that because that's more of an inflammatory flush. So I want more of a flush of color, like healthy, glowing skin. So that's the whole point. Using that same color as my lip color. And even out the lip line a bit with a lip liner. I haven't worn mascara in a long while just because for me it has been too irritating to the eyes. I think there may be something in most mascaras, some common ingredient that I could be allergic to, but I haven't actually been allergy tested. So what I've been doing in the more recent years is I've been wearing some eyelashes like these. These are just very wispy. They're very natural looking. They're brown, so they look better with my red hair. I used to wear much more dramatic eyelashes when I was younger, but they just don't look as good on me now as I'm getting older, so I'll show you how I do these. I'm using the Duo Quick Set Lash Glue and just applying these right under my natural eyelashes like that. I pretty much keep these on all the time just so I have some eyelashes. But I was due for a new set, so there you go. So here's the final makeup look. I have come a long way from heavy black eyeliner and super dark smoky eyes on my pasty complexion. What's a makeup mistake you made in your teens and 20s that you would never do now in your 40s? Share in the comments.